to The Dan Show, starring Dan Whalen.
Hey guys, welcome back to my show, where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today we're going to be talking about the fourth movie, which they did kind of backwards if you know, like kind of how they made these movies. This was kind of the first movie back in the 70s, but was also number 4 in the trilogy. So I know it's a little confusing, and again, I really don't understand why they did that, other than I don't think George Lucas thought this movie was going to go anywhere. And I know I'm skipping over Rogue One, but today we're going to be talking about the fourth movie in the Star Wars installment. It is going to be Star Wars: A New Hope. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, it definitely helps me out. Stay tuned for more videos. I feel like I repeat this every time I make a video, but this is busy season for me, guys. Like, this is busy as hell. Like, it's summertime here in Florida. I run a pool technician company. People are swimming. I'm getting my butt kicked. You know, like I said, so I'm going to pump out as many videos as I can, as often as I can. I managed to have a day off today. Woohoo! So I was able to make a video for you guys because it's been on my mind for about, God, I don't even know, just like a couple days. Like, man, I really need to make a video. So please like and subscribe to my channel, guys. You know, I'd love to eventually just kind of make this a full-time thing because I'm tired of sweating my butt off outside. Ha, ha. But maybe one day, you know, we'll see how this goes. But, like, I kind of need your help. I need your support. And I really appreciate it, guys. I love you. All right, so we're going to jump right on into this. So this movie kind of starts off at the end of Rogue One, which, again, I apologize that I'm not going to be doing that one yet. So it kind of starts off as... you know, the Empire, so you should know what the Empire is by now. You know, the Empire with Darth Vader and Lord Sidious, all them, you know. They're pretty much in their big ship, and they're going after the little rebel ship, you know, as it's like kind of panning into the scene. And it's kind of weird, so I'm going to jump around a lot. So let's just say the Empire ends up taking control of that ship. Like, they end up capturing it and whatever. Princess Leia, which... You don't know this yet, and the audience does not know this yet, but that Princess Leia is Darth Vader's daughter. Spoilers ahead, you're welcome, you know, it is what it is, just, it is what it is, yeah. So, he ends up, like, completely capturing her. I don't even think Darth Vader even recognizes that that's his daughter yet. Like, I don't think I think it takes a minute. Or maybe he does, and if he does recognize that that's his kid, then he definitely does not get the Father of the Year award, because he's a piece of shit. Anyway, but that's Darth Vader. Everybody expects Darth Vader to be evil. He is, like, the pinnacle of evil. He's actually, sadly, a step below Darth Sidious, which is... That's pretty bad, you know what I mean? Like, wow, like, if you're that evil and there's somebody even more evil above you, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, so we got Darth Vader. He captures Princess Leia, and then we're gonna pan over to the brother, which, in case you didn't know, more spoilers ahead. Luke Skywalker is Princess Leia's brother. So, but they don't know that yet. Nobody really knows that yet. But then we kind of go to I forgot the name of the planet, but damn, like, he's on the planet. He's with his Uncle Owen and his Aunt Beru, you know, and you know, you kind of see his side of the story. Like, Princess Leia grew up kind of royalty and, you know, with money and crap, and then you got Luke, who grew up in squalor, you know, just kind of like on this dirt-ridden planet, you know, of just like it's kind of like the hobo planet, you know. It sounds kind of shitty to say that, but it's like the hobo planet, you know. If you're broke, you're stuck on this world. Anyway, Luke Skywalker's a pretty smart kid, you know. He lives with his aunt and uncle. I guess they inherited him, or, you know, took custody of him when Darth Vader lost his mind and his mom died, which was Padme. I know we talked about that. You know, so that's kind of where that's going. But, so let's put it this way. We remember a character named Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi is probably, like, the most wholesome Jedi in the universe. Like, he's so good just to be good. I'd say he's probably more good than Yoda. Yoda was more of, like, the monk type and just kind of, like, studied the Force and whatever. But I think Obi-Wan just was good to be good. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's ultimately what happens. Or his point of view. Like, I think that's ultimately how his character is. So, anyway, we're going to get right on. We're going to get back into that. So, it turns out Obi-Wan and Luke are kind of like, I guess, kind of like friends. Almost on like a, I guess, like, if you want to talk about, like, Back to the Future, kind of like how Doc and Marty McFly are friends. I kind of see that being almost like the same friendship idea, you know? So, whatever there. But, yeah, no, so then, I guess, you have these two droids that were actually on the Rebel ship. You got R2-D2 and C-3PO, which I'm pretty sure they're in every single movie. I'm pretty sure those two droids are literally in every movie. Let me know if I'm wrong about that, but like if I remember correctly, they're in all the movies. Anyway, so I guess Princess Leia, before she got captured by Darth Vader, left a message inside of R2-D2 to give to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Luke and his uncle end up buying the droids after the droids were captured. And we'll get to that later. Like this little this little sand dune kind of transporter ends up capturing the two droids and sells them to Luke and Uncle Owen. So inside the R2 unit though is like a hologram message that Luke Skywalker ends up kind of intercepting or seeing himself. And he goes, like in the thing, she goes, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." He goes, "I don't know anybody by Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I know a Ben Kenobi." So then he ends up, Luke ends up getting a little bit of trouble with the Sand People, and then out of nowhere, you got Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's now known as Ben Kenobi, saving Luke Skywalker. And Luke kind of says, "Yeah, no, we're looking for like this Obi-Wan Kenobi guy," and Obi-Wan Kenobi just kind of like goes into like a moment of like, "Oh shit, that's me," like he hasn't heard that name in forever, and I thought that was kind of neat. Like I said, like the story of this one, I think really is like the tie together. This is kind of like don't get me wrong, I feel like all the other movies were awesome, but this one really is just like the start of all of it, and that might actually be why George Lucas started this, because I think A New Hope is probably the best Star Wars movie. I don't know about that. I think The Empire Strikes Back might be a little better, but like I really love this one because this one kind of really just kind of kickstarts everything. This one kind of shows you like who's good and who's bad, like where like good and evil kind of begins. You know what I mean? And anyway, so pretty much Obi-Wan explains to him that he was a Jedi, and then he kind of tells Luke that his dad died and was killed by Darth Vader. Which, if you don't know the lore by now, come on, man, catch up. Oh, I'll get to that later. You should already know by now. Like, any human being should know, like, what I'm talking about. So anyway, jumping more into this, like, they end up kind of realize they have to get off the ship to deliver because Obi-Wan kind of receives the message and realizes that Princess Leia is in trouble. Obi-Wan and Luke decide to go help Princess Leia, blah, 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 but they have no way off the planet that they're stuck on. Then they bump into pretty much the coolest character in the entire trilogy. You got Chewbacca, you got Han Solo, and they are captains of the Millennium Falcon, which everybody should know what the Millennium Falcon is by now. So anyway, they end up taking off, they end up getting off the ship, and like, this video could be forever if I went into pure descriptive detail of what this movie was. I'm just gonna jump around a lot more now because I feel like I'm dragging. But all in all, this movie is awesome. So they end up getting off the planet that they're on from the Millennium Falcon after the Empire almost caught them. You'll literally see like the Empire shooting their laser guns at the ship as it's taking off, and they're like, "Wow, that was a close one," heck yeah. So with that being said, now they're off the planet, and they're kind of cruising around space trying to find like where Princess Leia is, and they come across like this moon-shaped like big old, moon-looking thing. And I think the coolest part of the movie is when Obi-Wan realizes, that's not a moon, guys. That's a space station. And you got sarcastic, smart-ass Han Solo going, "Dude, that's too big to be a space station. Jesus Christ, whatever." Anyway, but it turns out to be a legitimate space station. So they end up being kind of sucked in from the space station, and for some reason, they're able to kind of hide in their own little ship, and they end up kind of like beating up a bunch of the stormtroopers and actually intercepting or taking their uniforms and kind of sneaking around the Death Star, which is the moon, by the way, the moon space station that I just talked about. It's called the Death Star. Pretty metal name, actually, like the Death Star. That's kind of metal as hell. I don't know, but anyway, so Obi-Wan's kind of sneaking around like a total Splinter Cell, and Luke and Han Solo are trying to find where Princess Leia is to save her because it's like a rescue mission. So then, let's put it this way. Obi-Wan ends up finding where like the power station is, and he ends up pulling all the levers down to get rid of the pull or deflector or the whatever they use to capture them. It's almost like this gravity field, like it almost like pulls the ships in to capture them, whatever. So Obi-Wan deactivates that. They end up finding Princess Leia, and then lo and behold, Darth Vader ends up bumping into Obi-Wan Kenobi, which ends up being I guess, the 1970s old man lightsaber fight. Like, if you remember the lightsaber fight before from the third movie, where it's Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they're just freaking boom, 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 you know, they're like going lightning fast. This one is like kind of like a sleeper. I remember the first time seeing both of them, and I was like, okay, yeah, this put me to sleep, you know, but it's a lightsaber fight regardless. I actually kind of, like, this is totally off topic, but I liked how they made like this, you know, CGI, almost kind of like the same, like what the fight should have been kind of deal, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like, you can find that on YouTube somewhere. I guess it's just a vamped up version of that same fight, which is pretty awesome. You can find that on your own. I can probably put a link in the description, we'll see. But anyway, so they're in the middle of fighting each other and whatever, and then Luke ends up bumping into, pretty much coming across them fighting, and he yells, "Ben Kenobi, hey!" And then for some reason, Obi-Wan Kenobi looks at him, smiles at Darth Vader, and just kind of sacrifices himself to, you know, so Darth Vader kind of kills Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is the saddest part of the movie. But I think Obi-Wan did that on purpose, clearly, because I think that was the ultimate point of his mission, was to somehow reunite Luke Skywalker with Darth Vader, or just to make each other aware of each other, which almost sounds kind of weird, but like, I don't know how, I feel like that wouldn't have worked, but like, just because the story wrote itself the way it did, it worked. But I love this movie. Like, this movie kicks butt. So now that Obi-Wan's gone, you'll find out later. I think you actually kind of find out in a couple movies later that he actually becomes like a ghost, or like a wave ghost of the Force or something like that. So clearly Luke Skywalker's bummed that he just lost his friend, which I always had a problem with this. Luke Skywalker took his aunt and uncle who raised him. You know, they end up dying in this movie by the Empire. They end up getting, like, annihilated. But he took their deaths better than Obi-Wan's death. And Obi-Wan was just a friend to him. You know, Luke Skywalker walked up to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's, like, burning corpses. It was just kind of like, damn. That's sad. You know what I mean? And then just kind of, like, scurried away back to where he was, and then you see Obi-Wan die, and he's, like, broken about it, like, just destroyed. Maybe it's just a combination of both that made him into this state of, like, oh my god, life sucks, I don't know, whatever. But anywho, now that they have the princess, and, you know, Han Solo and Chewbacca and, you know, everybody or whatever, they end up taking her back to the Rebel base where, like, their little hideout, and then they kind of realize that this Death Star is a bit of a problem, because, let's put it this way. In the middle of the movie, you see that the Death Star blows up Alderaan, which is Princess Leia's home planet. And I mean, it annihilates. It just done. It's over. Like, literally within 3 seconds, it's over. You know, just the planet is annihilated. So now they're aware of this huge Death Star threat, and they have to come up with a plan, and somehow inside the Death Star plans that Empire still somehow was never able to acquire because R2-D2 still had them. They found out that there's like this little 2-meter size little hole that they're gonna like decide to bombard or freaking drop a bomb into from their fighter jets and shit like that. But it's kind of like they actually have to plan it out. They know it's not going to be easy, but like literally, it's a planet the size of freaking. Or it's a space station the size of like the moon, and they have to find the 2-meter size little hole to like put it in, you know what I mean? And whatever. Anyway, so they end up flying up, you know, in their spaceships to pretty much attack the Death Star, and lo and behold, use the Force, Luke, you know, use the Force, you know, and he ends up using the Force. He ends up turning his targeting computer, even the rebels or whatever. I'm skipping ahead a lot because let's just put it this way. It's like every movie ever. The good guys almost show signs of losing the battle until Luke kind of realizes, oh my god, I have the Force a little bit. Like, I'm strong with it. Let me try this. Because Obi-Wan's ghost is just like, use the Force, Luke. And Luke is just kind of like, alright, yeah, I'm not going crazy or nothing. Let me just turn off my targeting computer. Let me try this on my own. And guess what, guys? Luke Skywalker ends up dropping a bomb in the 2-meter little hole that's there. And essentially, quote, you know, whatever. You find out later that it was kind of like a flop. But he ends up blowing up the Death Star. Which is like, woo, you know, and then, like, that's kind of the movie, you know? They kind of realize that the Empire is too powerful, and they have this space station that's completely and utterly unstoppable, and they have to pretty much destroy it. That is ultimately what this movie's about. You know, it's also, I like it too, because it's almost like a reuniting of family, without, even though they all don't even know that they're family yet. I thought that was kind of cool, but I love this movie. This one was the first movie I ever watched in the Star Wars trilogy. I was a little kid when I watched this, and I remember my dad and we used to have like the little toys, you know, the little action figures, whatever. Man, I remember I literally had I had the little speeder that Luke Skywalker rode around and everything like that. I even had the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi as like a little toy, which I thought was kind of silly, but who cares? Whatever. But all in all, like this movie kicked butt. We got a bunch more to go in this freaking trilogy because Star Wars is just endless. And I feel like they're still making things. Let me know in the comments like what's the newest Star Wars thing. I think they're making like an Andor season 2, which I've never even seen season 1. We'll maybe get to that later. But this is the 4th movie. This one's a Star Wars New Hope. Again, I'm not going to rate them from like a 1 to 10 because they're all awesome. Especially the original, you know, the original 6, you know. Like I said, I love this one. This movie's great. I know I left out a bunch of stuff, but I feel like what I narrowed down in this video is the important stuff. Or kind of like this to sum up, like if I'm trying to sell this movie to you, I think I gave you everything you needed to kind of get the idea of what this movie's about. It's a movie about good and evil, guys, you know, like every movie ever. And this one kind of started it all. You know, this one really did start the entire Star Wars trilogy. I don't think George Lucas back in the day thought that these movies were going to do any good, but it turns out they're like probably the single greatest trilogy to ever exist. I think even more than Lord of the Rings, more than Star Trek. Like Star Wars is stamped and approved. Just there it is, guys. You know, whatever. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. I'm gonna just show out a little reminder there. Again, I'm gonna do my best to pump out more videos for you. I'm gonna literally have to schedule this, I guess, like, cause I feel like I'm gonna admit, like I've been lazy a couple times, you know, where I'm like, it's just, I'm not in the mood right now. But just to keep these going, I absolutely need to do this for you guys, and I need you guys to I'll keep you guys posted on things. The next one is probably gonna be The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know. It's a coin toss between these two movies. I don't know which one I like the most, but like The Empire Strikes Back is kind of like the opposite of this one, where the bad guys kind of win. We'll get into that later. That's going to be in the next video. Stay tuned for more videos, guys, and please always remember to have a fantastic day.